Hi, Brooke. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
Pretty good. How about you?
Good. Just
Good.
getting ready to get the day started here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you able to see my screen right now?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, cool. All right, we're just going to give it a little bit more time. See who else jumps on. Whoops, this is the wrong slide. There we go. Welcome, Keith. Welcome, Brandon. Welcome, Mario. Welcome, Melanie. I don't know why I have to admit you guys this week. I didn't have to last week. It's better. I have to check this as we go through the training. See who's going to try to jump on a little later or not. Well, we'll keep an eye out on it. It's all right. We're just going to give it a couple more minutes. See who else is going to jump on with us. All right. Welcome, Jackie. Welcome, Grace. All right, let's go ahead and get started. How's everybody doing today? If you guys can turn on your videos, that would be great. If not, I understand that too. What's going on, Keith? I think I remember you from our Bold that you were at Bold, the one that we had over there at the links, right? That's where I remember I was like, man, I know Keith somewhere. How you doing? Yeah, so thank you guys for turning on your video. It really helps me out, kind of just see where everybody's at and what's going on. So today we're going to talk about our database. Nicole's joining in. One second, let me see if I could change the setting on this so I don't have to keep admitting people in as we go, because once I go in presentation mode, I can't see anything. Not advanced share options. One second. What's going on, Nick?
Hi, I'm trying to take my, oh, I found it. Never mind.
Morning, everybody.
You sound a little low there, Nick. Hold on. Hey, the admit option is on, Nick, and whenever I go in presentation mode, I don't really see what's going on here. I want to try to adjust that real quick so I don't have to admit people in.
I think Zoom just made that like a mandatory thing, maybe even just today.
Really? Okay. Because I was like, last week we didn't have it. All right, I guess I'll have to just check back in and out as we move forward with it.
I'll see if I can play with it while you do your thing.
All right, cool. Appreciate that. All right, so how's everybody doing today? Everybody's good?
Good.
Good, good. Welcome aboard, Christian.
Thank you.
So today we're gonna can you guys see, do you guys see the screen that says Ignite, Spark Your Career, Session 4, Database is Your Business? No? Okay, hold on. How about now?
Yes.
All right, cool. Perfect. So today we're obviously going to talk about our database, and I kind of wanted to get an idea of what you guys think that means, right? So when you hear database, like what do you know about it? What's your perception of it? Like what's there for you? Can somebody talk to me a little bit about that?
Well, your database is typically your sphere of influence, and that can include all of the contacts that are in your phone. That can include all of your social media contacts,
Yep.
anyone that you currently have contact information for.
Yep. Anybody else? What else? Does anybody know why it's important to have a database?
Generate cells.
Yep. Absolutely. So, I mean, the title in itself, right, says it all. Like your database is your business. Just like, for instance, a doctor's practice. Some of these practices get sold for so much money. Why? They built their business. They established a client base, right? Sure, the doctor must have been talented to be successful, but nonetheless, doctors are good at building databases. That's why they're able to bring in other doctors, at the end of their business, right? Or at the end of their career when they're ready to retire, to essentially buy their business. And when we mean buy their business, typically we can refer that to them buying their database, right? It could be at a local location that's been known for many, many years. People are just used to going there, and at the end of the day, when you're ready to get, to sell your business, right, or hang it up, you can actually have something that's sellable. So your database is important for multiple reasons, but I think one of the key things and why I'm bringing up the whole, doctor practice example here is because what would it be like for you guys as realtors or business owners to establish such a lucrative database that when you're ready to retire, you could sell your business for 5 or 10x its annual income, right? There is certain things that are sellable, and unfortunately, like many years went by and I never even thought of the concept. I think Nick brought it up to us one time, or being around KW and taking the business mindset and being a business owner and really applying that really started making sense here and why a database is so important. We're going to go to obviously more details in there, but I wanted to just kind of highlight that, right? Just to give you guys something to think about, like, wow, you put in 10, let's just say 15, maybe even just 5 years, let's just say you built up an amazing business and now you have something that's sellable because you have a database that's functioning, efficiently and what you're turning out, right? You'll get to know what your ROI is, what that will start to produce through obviously systematically building it. So let's go ahead and get moving with that. Just kind of wanted to share that with you guys to just open your minds up a little bit about what's possible, at the end of, whether it's your real estate career or just selling the business. So in these slides, we have them in every Ignite. We're obviously looking at what successful agents do, every day. And we went through this list last time, so I'm not going to do it again. But, we're still here working on how to lead generate for buyers and sellers, right? So these are the skills that we're going to be working on. We're going to discuss what is a database, why use a database, how to develop your database, and then we'll go over some ahas and some daily success habits. Okay, so that's kind of today's agenda, which is kind of cool. You guys kind of get to see what we're doing. It could be short depending on participation today. Let me see here. We have people in the waiting room. 1 second. Admit all. Sorry, guys. I had a feeling this was going to get a little distracting with this. All right. Thanks for joining us, Liz. Kelly. All right. I think we're good. All right. So the big picture, right? Who wants, here's the big picture of your database. At the end of the day, like it's, as it says here, a well-tended database produces leads. A powerful database managed by powerful schedule produces a predictable flow of leads. And from predictable flow of leads, you can expect predictable flow of business, right? So as I'm reading that out, like, what does that tell you guys? Who wants to work with me today?
As long as we keep feeding our database, that it'll be good for us because they'll continue to work with us just like we're working with them pretty much.
Absolutely. And I think you said one of the key things here, right? And that's feeding the database. Okay, I don't know what's going on there. Okay, cool. So exactly. So that's exactly it, right? Like feeding it is your business, and feeding it not only is your business today, it's your business tomorrow, right? And some of the ways we go about doing that is having, recording our business relationships. I'm sorry, hold on. There's so many people admitting right now. Wait 1 second. Okay. So one, we got to establish the relationships, right, with people in the business. Sometimes those relationships are people we already know. Sometimes you'll start to get people that you're adding in your database that you probably have never met yet, right? Then the goal after that is to help nurture and manage those relationships, right? And that will ultimately lead into what's a predictable flow of business. And then at that point, it's up to you to continue to provide value year over year, month over month, day over day, or whatever system you choose in your database helps you do that, and to how to just build that bond, make it stronger, and establish yourself as the number one or number two in your client's mind, right? So those are the key things that really establish an efficient database that can lead to predictable business. Let's go ahead here. All right. So we got some questions here. What is the purpose of the database, right? So oftentimes, right, like it's obviously to store data because the data is important, right? It also helps nourish relationships with your database. We said a little bit of that. And it's a living record of all your business relationships. The size of your database determines the size of your data bank, right? Sorry, I missed some more people. 2, what makes your database valuable? What do you guys think makes your database valuable?
The information in it.
Correct. Also, this, I don't know if you guys have your participant guide or not. I know that they've been posted up in some of your closed Facebook groups in your offices. I can put that up in a little bit for you guys too, but if you do have it, it's page 3 of your participant guide. But absolutely, right? Like the information in it and the way it's stored, right, is what makes your database valuable. You'll be able to also communicate with people that you store in your database a little bit more efficiently when you know what they are, how you tag them, where that information came from, right? Where that leader contact came from. And I think that one of the most important things that ultimately gets us there is that our databases now, before I know people used to use Excel sheets, realtors, back in the day would talk about how they had a Rolodex. Those things are all great, but now we have a lot of other tools that come with our databases, right? As we see, Command is not just a place that stores information. It's a place that stores information that we can actually use. All right. Our fire alarms are going off in our office here. 1 second, let me just check what's going on. This is an interesting day so far. Nick, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here, man.
They're evacuating our building. Can you jump on for 5 minutes real quick? Let me see if I gotta actually get out of this building or not. For sure.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Okay.
Give me a second, guys. I don't have the materials. I need to. Can you make me a host, Eddie, or
Yeah, let me make you a host. Hold on.
co-host?
There you go. Let me do this too.
You need to get out of that building there.
Yeah.
I was sitting there thinking the same thing, like, go.
Hold on.
He's on the ground floor. He's fine.
Yeah,
I have to
I'm on
tell
the
us,
ground
don't
floor.
grab your
If I had
purse,
to
just
take
get
an
in the
elevator, I would have
building.
been gone. But I could get out sooner than everybody else. Let me go to the chat. One more thing. Okay, you put the participant guide in. You want me to put the, hold on.
I can get everything, man. Don't worry about it.
You got it? Okay, cool. All right. I'll
2 seconds, folks. Good morning, everybody. How we doing? This is what we call a pivot.
Good morning.
Give me a sec. I just had to download everything and
Good morning.
Yeah, right, huh? Good is subjective today. So let's hopefully Eddie's all good. Let me get the presentation up real quick and we will jump into our content again. Thanks for being patient, everybody. All right, boom, there we go. Got the presentation up. You guys good? See that? All right, perfect. And let me get the manual and we will make this thing happen. Nothing is gonna get in the way, not even a catastrophe. Hopefully it's not a catastrophe though. All right. So let's see, I think where you guys at? Right around here, big picture database. All right, cool. Of course, I haven't reviewed these materials today, but we're just gonna go. We are just gonna go. So, database, why it's valuable. I heard you guys, talking a little bit about that. And you had some good answers for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, his analogy about doctors is a great one because, they build a practice that they can sell to another person. And you guys all should have that aspiration. We want to be looking out for, quality data in the database as well. And if you think about it, data is the first word. You don't have a database without data, and names and phone numbers isn't enough, right? We need to have, bigger chunks of information so that we can, number one, communicate it to it effectively. Number two, we can recall, previous conversations and things that, that we, can sprinkle into a conversation just to show people that we're listening and paying attention and caring, right? And then, having these records helps us, get better at following up and staying in touch with our clients, So I had a interesting morning in that I had an agent reach out to me asking some questions about a potential listing. And it was a listing that I had back in 2013, right? And it expired. The people decided not to sell. There were a bunch of complications. There's, the wife was pregnant. Her brother co-owned half of the property. There was a bunch of just things that got in the way, right? And, back then, 2013, I didn't know what a database was, right? So I didn't really have any sort of CRM system that I was using like Command. And guess what? Those people didn't call me. They didn't call me, right? Luckily, it was one of our agents. That's the one good thing. And secondly, luckily, I didn't just drive by the property and see a sign in it that wasn't mine either, right? So anyways, one of our newer associates. So hopefully she'll be able to get that listing. So, having that data, having the automated follow-up, all these things, I keep harping on most of y'all about getting people in your database and getting them on these neighborhood alerts and getting the drips going. At a bare minimum, you guys should be having everybody get the 2 emails a month from Command automatically. It's a no-brainer. That's just the easiest, simplest way to make sure that at least twice a month you're getting some sort of impression on them, right? Let alone the calls, let alone the texts, let alone everything else, right? I mean, that's just the simplest thing. So I can't recall if we jump into Command on this class or not, but we shall find out. All right, so page 4 in the course materials, which I don't have open yet. One sec. I should do that too. And hopefully you have in the chat there, I dropped it in. So let's take a look at the 3 levels of a millionaire database. So take a look at page 4, and it says here, the most important aspect of the database is the relationships that you build with the people inside of it. So it's not good enough just to have data. We have to have relationships, right? We have to have, created this 2-way conversation. It's not a one-way. It's not just leads that you're sending texts and emails and social media messages out to. Unless they respond, there is no relationship there, right? And as you develop deeper relationships with your leads, the level of detail in your database will help shape the way that your database functions and will ultimately help it transition through these 3 levels: essential, effective, and exceptional. Okay, so let me see, is anyone, there we go, boom. All right, so in thinking about that, right, let's take a look at
I'm sorry, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate on those levels as far as how it relates to, is that how we're to be seen? Did I miss something, or is that how our, the database level?
These are the 3 levels of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent database. So this is what your databases should look like. Okay. And I think what you're going to see is, most of us are probably going to be, you all start at level 1 at the end of the day, right? So if we look at level 1, these are the essential pieces, right? We have our name. That's the name of the person in the database, their contact info, their past business and past contact records, any history that you have, and at-will communication, meaning they're responding back and forth to you. Like, these are the basic pieces of information that we need to start with our database, okay? So if that makes sense, that's your first level of just the essentials, okay? So if we move on and we start thinking about what the next level looks like, that's where we go to level number 2, effective. Effective is, if you think about it, your essential is like your bare bones of a database, right? And then effective means, okay, well, now we've got, as you see here, we have permission to communicate with them, right? We have reached out. Ideally, they've responded at some level to us, and now we're having a 2-way piece of a 2-way conversation, right? So this is going to be more effective because your relationship is deeper. It's deepened a little bit. It's more intimate in that you have this two-way conversation. It shows you here that we are collecting personal information, insights, and preferences, right? So that means like you don't just have a name and a phone number, but you've got actually some details about the people. You know a little bit more about them, maybe where they worked, used to work now, where they grew up, where they went to school, you know, interests, hobbies, you know, favorite restaurants, that kind of stuff, right? What they like to do on the weekends. And then segmenting the database, which we'll talk about in a second. But basically that means just segmenting them into quality, essentially, like how solid of a person is it, right? It's one thing to have somebody respond to a text and say a one-word answer versus you picking up the phone and having a great conversation with somebody that's a level 1. That would be somebody that's like your, you know, basically your, you know, best friends, parents, children, whatever, like your close people. Okay. And then number 8, purposeful and consistent communication. Okay. So your database isn't going to get to its full potential until you commit to investing your time and energy into making it run efficiently. And, you know, the largest strides come from these things: obtaining permission, getting information, segmenting the leads or the people, and then that consistent and purposeful communication. So, you know, at level 1 with just contact info, you're not going to get a good quality return on it because you're not creating relationships. Level 2, obviously, as you can see, the two-way relationships are much stronger at that point. Okay. So, ultimately we're gonna, you know, get the information, right? We're gonna obtain the permission. And what is permission? Permission is basically asking if you can have a two-way conversation. And that's what turns leads into contacts, right? So it's one thing for your friends and family, your sphere of influence. You already have permission from them, right? The next thing is gaining permission from the leads that you generate. Now this it may not sound like you saying just straight up like, hey, do you mind if I, you know, have permission to contact you, right? As long as they respond, the implication is that they have given you permission, right? Now, some of your friends and family, you may not have permission to talk to them about real estate. And so you may need to seek that from them, right? So that might sound like, hey, do you mind if I, you know, send out some, you know, relevant real estate information to you from time to time? Is that okay, right? So that's what permission might sound like. So step 6, collecting that personal info, insights, preferences. This is that opportunity to really cement the relationship, whatever their leads, contacts, whether they're leads or contacts, they share similarities that you can create a group or, you know, use tags inside of Command. You can batch the conversations. So the more intimate you are with the database, the more you can start targeting specific communications, right? So like as you talk to your database and you find out that, oh, this one's you know, a potential buyer lead, this one's renting a property, this is somebody that's interested in investing, this one's somebody that's interested in moving up, moving down, right? Those tags will allow you to create more directed and specific communications as opposed to you just blasting out to your entire database a new listing that you took, right? That may not be effective for the vast majority of the people in there, right? So that's where getting this information is going to be so crucial. And then, you know, when we think about the segmenting, right? That's what that process is taking a look at the database and saying, okay, well, who goes in what categories? You know, when you guys set up Command, it gives you the opportunity to create tags. So one thing you'll want to do is just, you know, think about some basic tags that you can create: buyer, seller, renter, investor, family, friends, Facebook leads, Instagram leads, right? You can create these tags and then that's going to help you create messages. So the part of the purposeful and consistent communication is making sure that the leads and contacts are on a touch campaign. And so, you know, when we read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, there's 2 campaigns that we note. One is called the 19 to Connect. This is for your leads. These are leads that come into your database. This is going to be, quarterly phone calls. This is going to be minimum monthly emails, newsletters, market reports, videos, command neighborhood videos, right? This is going to be a couple of touches for direct mail, and then some sort of an annual, event of some sort, right? In the past, that might have been a big party. Not really doing those right now, but we can certainly talk more about, doing virtual related parties, get-togethers, or what I think is a great one is charity, charity drive, sock drives, canned food, toy drive. And I'll tell you what, most people do these around the holidays. Why don't you be the one that doesn't do it around the holidays, right? You're going to get a lot more pub when, you're the only one doing it, right? Like this weekend, how about a canned food drive? This weekend, how about a sock drive, right? So, you can do that a couple times a year. And then the other plan here, and by the way, these are on page 5, by the way. The other plan is the 36 to convert. So this used to be what we call our 33 touch. Now it's a 36. And these are people that are contacts. These are the people that you have the two-way relationship, right? And these are going to be your phone calls, quarterly minimum. I think right now in COVID, you can update that to minimum monthly. Since things are changing and evolving so much, you probably have a lot of people in your database that are interested in rental laws and tenant rights and landlord laws and things of that nature, right? So probably, monthly. And then your twice a week emails, which Command does automatically for you. And then 2 events or webinars or something per year. And then some sort of promotional material that you can get into their hands. Notepads, magnets, calendars, market reports, that kind of stuff, right? And all these things are designed to move from essential database to effective database, all right? And then if we look at number 3, exceptional, right? This is the 3rd level of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent database. So ultimately, the goal of your database is to become exceptional. As their systems evolve, you guys' systems evolve and information within it becomes more detailed, you'll have the ability to take a hands-off approach. Each lead will be served without requiring anyone's direct input, without sacrificing quality. And this is where automation comes into play, right? If you look at exceptional, the 9th component here, automated custom communications built around triggers. And this is, something, a little bit of AI is going to be involved here. Some automated texting is going to be involved here. Automated email is going to be involved here. You guys can go into Command, by the way, and set up your Twilio phone number. And you can buy credits, are really, really inexpensive. And you can text people back and forth from Command, and you can do automated texts within smart plans. So if you put your people up on a smart plan, to get an email from you once a month for a holiday or whatever, and then maybe 2-3 times a year, an automated text goes out. That's as simple as, hey, just checking in on you, how's things going, right? Then that's all happening for you, and you don't have to do that anymore yourself, right? So there's a lot of power to that, obviously. So automation can come through tech, Command, and ultimately, the bigger your database, the bigger your business, automation may come through people, right? It sounds kind of funny to say that, but automation may be you hiring somebody to be your automation person, right? So the more homes you sell, the more help you're going to need, and that might be administrative down the road, okay? It's possible to become a millionaire real estate agent just within having an essential database, right? But you're going to miss out on a lot of business that's easy to convert and very cheap, if not free, to acquire, okay? So, if you think about that, a lot of people spend money on leads and ads and things of that nature when, really well, effectively run database is the cheapest source of business and the easiest to convert. You're usually not having to compete for it, right? Referrals, your friends, your family, your sphere, et cetera, okay? All right. What happened over there?
So we're good. We had to, I guess we had a fire drill here today. You know how they are in Cerritos, this building, they take it seriously. It was real out there right now.
Oh, I bet. Head counts and all, right?
Head counts, roll, take names. It was all kinds of stuff. I was like, let's go. I gotta go. We got it done though. We're back in.
All right, man. So I'll stop my share. Do you still have host control?
No. You're gonna have to assign me, I think. Let me see. No, I think you gotta assign me, or just assign the KW Lamarada.
Boom. There you go, my man.
All right.
So we're right there on looks like page 11 in the instructor manual, and you see the slide there, why use a database.
Got it. Let me just get myself situated here. Thank you guys for all being patient. Some unexpected things happening here. Never a dull moment.
That's how we pivot, folks. I'm glad I jumped on.
Yeah, I'm glad you jumped on too. I'd have been like, hold on, I'll be back. All right. So, all right, let me get back in the groove of things here. So we talked about, let me just get my thoughts together here. So, okay, so we went over the essential, the effective, and the exceptional part. I did catch the end of that. I think this is a great breakdown of just like how to think about your database, because oftentimes most people stay stuck here on that level 1, right? So yes, looking into how you can get into 2 and 3 and being effective with that truly really can transform your business and where you want to go, and ultimately it can predict where you can go, right? And that's kind of what's cool about it. So take advantage of that to have these tools. Nick, a couple of years ago, we probably would have had to pay several $1,000s a month for a CRM that can supply us with these extra things, right? And now, we get all that with Command to be able to obviously not just input the information, but put things like automation and AI. So I know it's a little redundant, but I thought those are just key things to highlight there for sure. All right, so next, I guess we're going to talk about why use a database, right? So why use a database? One is to obviously avoid the today trap, right? The today trap, I'll give you guys an example. Prior to me coming to Keller Williams, I was definitely into the today trap. I was just kind of in that level 1 section. If that, I was prospecting daily to find business daily, right? And I guess in a way, like that's what we do. But because I didn't store that information, I didn't know any better. I was trained a certain way, and what I was trained is like, great, after we close the deal, get them a gift and move on to the next client, right? But that's far more different than actually taking that client, putting them in the database, nurturing them, collecting the information, getting them on a drip system, putting them on, on a schedule or task list that actually tells me when I need to be communicating with them and how often, right? So with that, with the database, essentially, you can be in this business 5 years, 10 years, look back and say, hey, wow, I got this business. I put all this information in it. Now it's starting to generate referrals for me. It's generating business for me versus like, oh man, like I remember I helped this client out 3 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever it is, right? And now they're using another agent, right? Because there was no systems in place. So when you use a database, it builds a moat around your business. You can build a moat around your clients, and with the technology we have right now, there's no better platform to do it than Command. Once obviously we know it has its challenges, but once it's fully operational or functioning without its glitches, I know it's there, but where they're heading with it is pretty phenomenal. Once people get into that database, it being powered by AI, there's not going to be a reason why people need to leave. And that's kind of what we're striving for and what we're going for with building our business through Command. Because the information is going to cater to the clients, right? It's not going to be this one cookie cutter style CRM or drip campaign. There's going to be a lot of functions there that's going to allow them to receive the information as the way they want to receive or that you see best fit for that client. So that's huge. So avoid the day-to-day trap. There's people in this business 20 years that are still in the today trap. I was into that today trap for 5 years, maybe, you know, before I came to Keller Williams and actually like started understanding what this means. And it's great that you guys, you know, some of you are starting your career newly here and actually can see what, you know, this is. So it's huge, guys.
Hey, Eddie, you want to start the slideshow?
What is it?
Just hit the start slideshow button.
Oh. Are you guys not seeing it? Seeing what I'm seeing right now?
We see the whole like PowerPoint screen.
Oh, okay, hold on. Let me share. Do you guys see this? The why use your database? There are 2 types of business.
Yep, good.
All right, cool. So there are 2 types of business, right? Today's and tomorrow's. Without the database, your business is built only for today. And I think we talked a little bit about that, right? So that being said, let me see what else comes in with this. And then we did discuss earlier that the size of your database determines the size of your database, your data bank, and also your bank account, right? So that the database holds the relationships, the customer information for you to handle and improve services and strengthen those relationships. And that's what it's really there for, avoiding that, you know, that day to day. So we're going to go into a little section here where it states that NAR, okay, NAR states that people move every 10 years. If they're focusing on people doing business today, they're only focusing on 10% of the business that can be done. With 10 years business between transactions, agents who don't leverage systems to stay top of mind end up experiencing their clients using another agent. So what's that mean? Essentially, if you're not having a system and you're not feeding that database every day, and the people that you're working with are going to buy every 10 years, and you don't have a system to even keep in contact with those people, then there's going to be a lot of people slipping through the cracks, right? So by taking control of your database and having a purposeful, consistent approach to your contacts and to build a path for their future and how they can repeat their referral business and how you can repeat your future business and your referral business through your sphere and other contacts you have in your database. So that's just another example how that shows why it's so important to run your database efficiently as well. We got us a little example here, right? These are 100 people in the market, okay? That out of 100, 65 are looking to be homeowners and 35 aren't, okay? Out of the 65, 58 of those people are off the market. The remaining 7 are people who are essentially ready to do business today, are your today business, right? So just from these last 3 slides, right? Like you got 100 people in the market. Look at this. 65 are looking to be homeowners and 35 are not. And 7 are ready to do business today, right? So when you have a database, not having a database, do you kind of see how we're in a disadvantage, right? So if that agent working without a database is only focusing on today's business, they're focused on finding the orphan, essentially, the person who isn't already represented by the agent out of those 7, to even bring it to a more granular level, right? So now that we know that NAR states that people move every 10 years and they are only focusing on doing business today. If they're only focusing on doing business today, they're only focusing on 10% of the business that can be done. So consider that all the contacts or potential clients automatically have a much bigger market to deal with. So taking control of that database and having a consistent approach to the contacts will build that path. So I think it's extremely important for us to look at what these ratios can look like. And over here, to take advantage of a predictable ROI, we have a 10-to-1 to 14-to-1, a 10-to-1, right? Average 10-to-1 to 14-to-1 average ROI. For every dollar you invest in your database activities, expect at least $14. Consider it is possible to get much more with repeat business and referral business. So what does that mean to you guys when you guys kind of see this right here? What does that look like? Like what is it telling you? Or Nick, do you want to jump in on here?
What I think it says is that you want to be proactive instead of reactive. So the business that's available today, of course, you want to work with those contacts or leads, but you also want to start building a pipeline of leads that are going to be ready in the future, because the future is going to come eventually anyway.
Yep.
So if you have a contact who's not ready to buy right now, they'll be ready to buy in a year. Well, next year is going to come regardless. And when you get to next year, if you've maintained that relationship, that's another escrow, basically.
Yep.
So that's just, it's just basically spacing out the money. It's still coming, just coming at different periods of time.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. And the average ROI is from like 10-to-1 to 14-to-1, but some KW agents have reported an ROI as high as 40-to-1, right? A 40-to-1 ratio is possible by communicating consistently with your database, specifically your sphere of influence. It's possible to see higher ROIs through gaining repeat and referral business through your SOI. Okay. With each customer, there'll be 3 associated costs, right? And those costs are generating the lead, converting that lead into a customer, and then converting that customer into a referral. Okay. So that's kind of what we're covering here, right? So to take advantage of a predictable ROI, 3 important considerations. Lowest lead cost, the cheapest customer acquisition strategy to work with is customers and people who you know and like you, right? So that's why we put them in and then we established a relationship, right? The lowest conversion cost is when properly built and maintained, a database will actually end up producing its own leads in the form of repeat clients and referrals. And it will also have the lowest conversion cost, right? Again, it just makes everything cheaper to maintain and if not grow your business. And then it pays for itself. A database makes it easier to do consistent follow-up, and you're good at when you're good at consistent follow-up, the resulting leads will end up paying for themselves. So I think in one of the earlier Spark classes that we did, there was a little line that went up and down, right? The little, I want to call them bell curves, but maybe they are. And you've got that person who just sold, and you got that person on the bottom, right? And it's that gap between that 1 and 10 years from the time they bought, the time they want to sell, and that time in between that we consistently communicate with these people, or that we're communicating with them even if they didn't buy or sell. that will eventually have a catch-all system with using, you know, a proper database with proper follow-up, right? And lead conversion and AI, which is what we have. So that's why you build the moat, right? When you leverage the technology so that you're able to actually make sure that nobody's falling through the cracks. And when you can consistently do that, it's only a matter of time that when your systems are consistent, right, and you're consistent with your systems, that throughout the years of you feeding that database, your growth can be exponential, right? And it's the cheapest way to keep bringing in business. There's so many people who who are getting leads or closing transactions, but I'll ask this question though: what does their ROI really look like? How much, how many people do we know out there that's spending so much? I know a lot of people spending money on Zillow leads, and I'm not knocking it, and all kinds of different systems, when their database functioning a lot more efficiently can give them a better ROI, give them a better P&L, looking P&L at the end of the day than, trying to take other routes. Oftentimes people do neglect the database to go for, the ad spend and the marketing. And I get that. And that this is a huge piece of your business. And I think right now, more important than ever, we do have an opportunity to build it considering, just kind of what everything's going through with this pandemic, that being relationship-based goes a very long way right now, right? It always has, but especially right now, we have the opportunities to engage in good conversation. That's just not surface level, right? So build your database, start with the people you know in your sphere, and you can, go on from there. Let's see here. All right, so develop your database, right? We've got to feed it consistently. We got to segment it into groups. We need to engage with a touch campaign, and we need to tend to it over time, right? Whoops. So we've seen this diagram before, right? Feed it consistently, prospecting based versus marketing based, right? When you're prospecting based, yes, you're putting in the time. Yes, you're being proactive and you can get immediate results. When you're marketing, it's long-term results. It's a little bit more passive and it's more money intensive. And right now, I think it's a great time to establish your prospecting. As I said in our last class, when you're prospecting based, you also build the skill to really convert on the marketing side. It kind of doesn't work as well when you flip the roles. I could get a new agent who has not worked on any skill sets yet, who does not know the scripts, and get them 100 hot leads, and they're not going to be able to convert. But when you get that conversion, you get it through prospecting and the practicing first and foremost, but also prospecting builds that experience pretty efficiently as well. So consider that. And then let's see here. We just went into this thing. So segment it into groups, right? Segment your clients, right? Business relationships, someone who hasn't done any business yet. Active client, past client, someone who's referred you business. VIP, have a VIP, right? Or repeat, somebody who's like a core advocate maybe in your business who, might just keep sending you business. Imagine if you guys had like 10 solid core advocates that got you 1 or 2 leads, or 1 or 2 referrals a year. Like, what would that business look like? Just off 10 people who can refer you business, who know you, like you, trust you, want to work with you, right? Want to see you succeed, and inherently, maybe you do the same for them or whatever they are in your business. And that's not hard to obtain, because the reality is, don't we all have other businesses around us that we help support? Such as lenders. Are your lenders, referring you maybe some business? Are your, I don't know. Is your gardener referring you business, right? Are you referring him business? There's so many different things you can use that's all around you. People that you help in their businesses can be a partner in your business and help refer. And that's besides maybe a couple other family members and people that are just amazing, or you crushed it with so many deals, or even if, let's just say it's your first 5 deals, but you did such a great job that those initial 5 clients are now raving fans and they can't stop talking about you and they want you to help all their friends and family out. So just kind of think about that for a little bit, because I want you guys to like really consider what it looks like to build that. And then how you segment those, right? Another important key thing here in segmenting is you want to know where your business comes from. You want to know, you know, when you close a deal, if that was a referral, if that was a online lead, whether that was, you know, somebody who's, you know, just you came across at the grocery store and handed a business card. I don't know. There's so many different ways that you could generate business, but it's so important to track and how you get those, because oftentimes I do also see people spending times in areas that aren't as effective for them, right? When they could be spending their time on things that's very effective for them. You know, if you're getting a majority of your business from cold calling, great, focus on that. You know what I mean? If you're getting a majority of it, you know, marketing on Facebook, and that's just what you want to do, and you've already established yourself in some way and got some skills down, great, you know, do that. But at the end of the day, you need to see where the majority of your business comes from, so you can start to, so when you track that, you know how to focus, double down on, right? And know how to develop and grow. Hobbies, interests, property type, investors, vendors. So these are all like example tags you guys can use, and how to break it down. A lot. So, you know, try to keep it clean. I would say, you know, utilize it, but at the same time, kind of build a system within it so you understand what it means for you as well. All right, let's see here. So at this point, I would like to ask, like, some of you are using your databases, you are in business right now. Does anybody want to share a few ways on how they organize their database with their tags? Anyone?
Yeah, so I simplified it where I put like category A are basically leads, category B are like still nurture, and category C is kind of like everyone else that I still need to reach out to and follow up, and that require, you know, my goal is to have a nurturing relationship. So those are people that like I still need to follow up with. And then again, all their basics like vendors, who's an investor, and I'll put like friends or family. So that's what I have.
There you go. Awesome. Clean, simple. I like it. And I like it. It's like that. It's like a Buffini style grading system, right? The A, B, C, and all that. It's good. Anybody else? This is a good opportunity for people to share right now, because you might say something that can really, you know, ignite that thing that, you know, your colleague or, you know, an agent in your office or here with us in Ignite can really have, you know, re-engage in their database in a whole new way with your input. So if, you know, if anybody else has anything, feel free to share. I think it's a great time for that. Anyone? Did I lose everyone? All right, we'll keep going. So let's see here. Let me minimize this. All right, custom tags. So we went through some of this, a little bit of this, I think in my last class with you guys, that once you have your contacts in command, you could start personalizing the database to fit the individual business need, right? Custom tags allow the user to create categories to add to their contacts. Examples can be, but not limited to, buyer, seller, renter, investor, first-time home buyer, luxury, open house, contact, etc., right? So you can do this. Obviously, this picture in the back depicts a little bit of what we would be able to do with command. You can color code those things as well, which kind of just makes things pretty easy to see. Are you guys kind of all clear on that? Just on what like tags do? Is there anybody not clear on it? All right, we're gonna move on. So after we feed it consistently, we break them down into different tags and segment the groups. Our goal now is to engage with the touch plan, okay? When we can systematically keep in touch with our customers, the information, and actually have the information to start or continue the conversation where we left off, we're ultimately putting ourselves in a position to where we can kind of communicate on a level that, you know, essentially, for lack of better terms, it won't skip a beat. You can talk to somebody 3 months from now, pick up that, you know, they were going to go on this vacation because that's where you left off, or they had this dog, or maybe you guys shared the same NFL team, you know, like the same NFL team, and all those notes and all those things were in there, right? And you were actually able to pick up the phone and pick up where you left off. Ultimately just solidifies that relationship just a little bit more. Compounding a little bit of the actual active activities, right? Like picking up the phones, followed by whether it's an email, newsletter, market report, or video with some other promotional touches, right? Whether it's a magnet or you want to leave some kind of report for them, and then maybe even have an annual screening, right? You'll be able to now start to solidify that relationship even further. You get to know them, they get to know you, and inherently you get to benefit from that too, because you know you're going to start to find so many similarities with the people that you contact over the phone. And when you do, you just don't know who, you know, what that relationship is going to evolve, you know, what it could evolve into down the road. You know, it could be a future business partner, it could, you know, it could be a lot of things. So it's just amazing that when you can systematically actually communicate with your clients, not only are they getting to see what value proposition you provide and showing that you are consistent with your business, because that's the first way to demonstrate that when you can communicate consistently, that you can deliver in your business consistently. That goes a long way. And typically, that just demonstrates, I've generated so much business just from like people saying, oh yeah, man, I keep getting the text messages and the calls, you know, I appreciate it. Some people are just like, man, I can't stand it. Like, I gave you my information, why'd you put it on? I'm just being real, right? But you know what, when it comes down to them wanting to sell or buy, guess who they call? They call me, because they're like, well, I know they obviously are annoyed by it, but that's what they want oftentimes in the seat, somebody who's going to be running their business on a consistent level and communicate highly, so that way when they're in the transaction with you, they know that that's what they can expect, right? They already know that just by you setting up your systems. So we talked a little bit last time about leads and contacts, right? So I'm not going to go too much into the details. I mean, you know, people who have the right of way, at least to have a one-way conversation with, is a lead. Contacts are people that you connected with by permission or because you know them. They have an interactive, and they're interactive and value-based, right? So you have a 19 to connect and you have a 36 campaign to convert. So, you know, and then before that, we even had 8x8, which is 8 touches in 8 weeks, to kind of just keep people intact, where you can systematically for 8 days and for eight weeks, once a week, send them something that consistently develops that relationship so you can lock it down, right? These campaigns are available for you already in Command, by the way, so take advantage of those. Rip off and duplicate, you know, R&D, whatever you can. If you don't have something yet, you know, trust me, something is better than nothing. Even if they just get your email and your team name or your name shows up in the subject line alone, it still keeps you top of mind with those clients that you have on those campaigns. So our job is to remind them And that's just one of the ways to remind them. So take advantage of the tools that's already available for you in Command. Let's see here. There's two ways to tend to your business, right? Build a culture around testimonials and reviews. People like to do business with people that they know and like. So getting to know someone allows you to treat them like a friend and actually become friends. When you do this, you're building a culture that's about the customer, that's not about what the customer pays you, but the way they perceive you. This will show up in your reviews and testimonials. So how do you ensure to get the reviews and testimonials that you need? Has anybody gotten reviews and testimonials already? How do you ensure how do you get, and this doesn't even need overthinking, right? Like, how do you get a testimonial and review?
Just ask the clients you work with.
Exactly. Just ask. Same way to get referrals, right? And oftentimes those are some of the things that always go by missing. So it's so key. Just ask, even if you did an exceptional job, some people just don't know, that maybe you're generating so much business on Yelp or Zillow and that goes a long way for you. So just ask, right? And you can always set the expectation up front, even from your listing presentation. Like, hey, once I do a great job for you, at the end of this, would you mind if I ask you if we, if you would send me a review, right? Or a testimonial. 1 second. Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks. Sorry, all kinds of stuff going on here today. And then 2, regularly update and prune your database, right? So one of the things that I highly recommend is definitely doing a quarterly call to your entire database. I think it's important. I think it's important to, 1, for them to hear your voice, and 2, to make sure that, the information you have is actually being received, that you're sending, right? So you can leverage, essentially 3 months, 4 months, so that you can make sure that when you're contacting your database, if they're still receiving things or things haven't changed and things of that nature. So in addition to leveraging your SOI for testimonials and reviews, which is obviously a great place to start too if you don't have any, people already know you can create some for you, or people that you've worked with. Let's say you're new to this business and you had a previous business and people just trust you, know you, and like you. I think that's an opportunity there for you to definitely leverage that and say, hey, I'm in real estate now, but I know that we worked together before, my work ethic, you know what I do, would you mind sending, writing me a review, right? Because people buy you more than they buy your product. So using the calls is one of the best ways to, and your quarterly calls is one of the best ways to definitely maintain the database and make sure that stuff is all correct and well. And obviously making sure that you have all the information. Most databases only contain the, email, phone number, name, but majority of them are missing the addresses. So get the addresses. It's worth a lot, especially right now with what you can do with the consumer app and the neighborhoods and the AI kind of acknowledging where they reside. So that way, how, so you can let your systems kind of work the areas that they're looking at or where they live. So make sure it's healthy, right? That's, I guess, another way of saying it, right? Is make sure that it's up to date and it's healthy. All right, does anybody have any questions around these 2 things? Nope. All right, we will continue on. Well, that's it, I guess. So we're on our ahas. So what are some of the ahas you got from today? how's your thinking changed? What are some of the ideas or mindset that's kind of there for you right now? Like what's shifted in your world around your database?
Your database is your business.
Yes. It's your business, absolutely. Do you think that having your database is going to pay for you tenfold if you start now and start now by managing and consistently feeding it, right, and nurturing your clients? What do you think your business is going to look like in 5 years or 10 years from now?
It'll be extensive.
Right? What would it look like if like you're, 5 years from now, you're in your office and you're getting 2 or 3 calls a week that's saying, hey, come list my property?
You'll grow. You'll have to hire some people.
Yep. So I just kind of wanted to expand on the importance of it, that there's a lot of shiny objects there and there's a lot of things that we could be doing. Keller Williams in itself, I'll admit it has a lot of things, but this is the core of your business. If you focus on your database alone and you can feed it every day, which is why we prospect essentially, right? Everyone's like, oh, you got to prospect every day. The reason why is because you got to get people to get in that database and you got to build that moat around those people so that they don't slip through the cracks and can become future business. So it's okay if people aren't ready to do business with you today, right? But by managing your database properly, you will have the business for tomorrow. And that's the goal that you want to have. You want to have that goal for tomorrow and you want to have that predictable business, knowing that out of every 100 people in your database will equate to 2 pieces of business a year, right? That will essentially start to push you to want to grow your database. And there's people out there that have databases with 6,000. I know people with 40,000 people. So just imagine what kind of business that they have, that they're able to do that, right? And then at the same time, you don't want to be investing 10, 15, 20 years in this business too, and just orphaning off all those clients that you worked with, right? That's another thing. You can have that predictable business. You can have that sellable business by maintaining a strong database. Awesome.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Is it common to get people's home addresses, or is that something that makes people uncomfortable and they want to limit to name, phone number, email?
It's common. It's very common. But here's the thing. So there's a few ways of doing it, right? Offering CMAs, essentially, you're probably going to need to get somebody's address, right? So that's one way of doing it, right? Providing them a value. Another thing is taking what would be a lead, right? Taking those 3 basic things, the name, email, phone number, and then getting them on a 19 touch, and then quarterly communicating with them and establishing a relationship in such that it won't be all weird when you ask for an address, right? So if you're kind of starting off in the business, or even if you're not actually, you probably have a lot of people right now that you can go into that you can pull up in your database and have missing addresses. It could be family members. It could be a lot of people that would be willing to give it to you anyway, right? So just kind of auditing that and looking at that is a big aha, and then putting it in your system that it's something you want to obtain and be purposeful about it. You'll get it more often than not, especially if you're providing a value, right? Maybe not so much on online leads initially, but that's why you connect. Anything else around that?
Can I say something?
Sure.
Yes, asking people for addresses sometimes is like, a little too personal. So what I'm doing is I'm asking just for their zip code. Because if they tell me they just live like in Long Beach, if I try to pull up a zip code for Long Beach has like 20, well, not realistically, maybe 8 or 9 different types of zip codes.
Yep.
So if I just pinpoint it to where they actually live, that makes it easier for me to add neighborhoods. So the neighborhood that they're actually in and surrounding.
Yep.
So that's the you know, and then of course once they feel comfortable enough to give it to me, then I'll just add it to their. But I find that just asking for their current zip code and adding and using that as a guide to add neighborhoods so they could start getting biweekly or quarterly or monthly. That works for me. I mean, that's
Yep.
working for me right now.
Good. And that's great, right? It's a way to kind of get an idea where they're at, get your stuff set up. And in the meantime, as you establish a relationship, eventually that address will come, right? But for now, at least you have the vicinity, right? Thank you for sharing that, Kristen. That's awesome. That's one way of doing it. Another thing is there are a couple things that obviously we're doing now that's different than before, right? If you're an avid door knocker and you've talked to people and got leads, inherently you got the address anyway, right? So there are situations where the address comes with part of the prospecting. Sometimes if you're calling expireds or FSBOs, right? These are people who raised their hand before and said, hey, I want to sell, right? So inherently that address now is available to you. So there are ways that the address does come. If you use Mojo, you know, it's another way of doing it, right? Sometimes you might not know the client on the other end, but nonetheless, their information pops up when you're calling on them, right? So there's ways of getting it. It's just, you know, consider to have a systematic plan that eventually, if not initially, to get the address. But I like that approach, right? You don't have to be pushy for it, but, you know, just have it in as a goal to keep the health of your database strong. And that is to, you know, as you're establishing throughout, you know, months of nurturing, that eventually you'll get that information. So that being said, how will your behaviors change moving forward? What actions will you take now that you know what you know about your database? I think people are trying to talk, but I'm not hearing anything.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Perfect. So one of the action items that I took down is that I really need to dive in more for my database. So I actually have uploaded it, but this weekend I really need to dive into it more because I realize that I'm not paying as much attention to it as I should.
Yep. Your database got business waiting for you.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just it's the easiest business you'll get to. It just needs you to reach out. You know, it's so funny. There's so many, especially on the family front. Like earlier on my career, I was very hesitant. I did not want to talk to family. I have a fairly large family, and there's a lot of successful people in there. But I was just like, you know what? I don't want to talk to them, right? I don't want to intrude. I don't want to feel, you know, sometimes we get in our own way. I don't want to feel like I'm bothering them or make them feel that, you know, they're compelled to use me and whatever else. So I didn't, right? And I lost so much business. I remember my first year in real estate, I had an uncle who bought a house in PV for like 1.2, which would have equated at that time, I think, I don't know, to like a $50,000 commission and maybe a little less. And I was just like, I cannot believe, like, I just, you know, they're just like, hey, we just didn't want to bother you. And we knew you were in the business, but at the same time, you know, like kind of didn't reach out. And it's just like, yeah, I didn't, you know, and I kind of kicked myself there. But that's just like one example, right? I really, you know, got in the way of that. So sometimes you want to really look at like, why is it that we avoid the, you know, your database? And I say family because oftentimes like family or sphere, SOY or friends are people that you can start with, but they're the last to maybe start receiving the drip campaigns and the last to actually get the phone calls, right? So, look into that. If there's something there for you, I promise, oftentimes it's just your own perception or your own self getting in the way. Because the best way to find out if somebody wants to work with you or not is to eventually just ask them, right? And take all that extra significance that we put around our own limiting beliefs out of that. That's something that I see a lot in coaching right now is, that's why people fall short on their database initially is they have to start with people that they just don't want to initially communicate with or feel like they're soliciting to. But if you're providing a value, right, and you know what that value is, and you know that your best interest is in the interest of your family and friends, then who better than you to like help support and serve them, right? You'll go out of their way. Or they can come across some agent who's got poor business ethics that ends up essentially, pulling a fast one on them and, ending up in a bad situation. So there's a lot of reasons why that, we look at our databases, but we don't initially want to touch them. But that's why we do this. That's why we have this training, is to show you the importance of it. So that way, we can change the thinking around that and give you guys the opportunity to see it for yourselves. And you don't have to start big, and you don't have to overwhelm yourself with it too. But if you got 2 people a day in your database, that's 60 people a month. That's solid, right? You don't have to go crazy. Or just if you have a lot of people in your database already and you want to just kind of go back in and audit that, then call 2 people out of it a day. Make sure their information is up to date and correct. Make sure that they're tagged properly and that they're on the proper drip campaigns, and start to see how that starts to work. Imagine you're converting and auditing 60 people a month out of your database right now, and that they're all dialed in. Like that can almost be instant business right there.
That's true.
Yep.
Thanks for your feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. And when I speak, guys, I know like one person asked a question, but I just want to say like I'm speaking to everybody, right? Not just that person. So sometimes I'll go off on these. It's just my style, right? If I feel that there's something there in the conversation and one person, like actually, shares something, then it brings through enough experience with coaching. It brings enough of some of the ahas or some of the challenges that we worked with consistently that keep showing up with a lot of people. In terms of just like, what are the challenges around the stuff, right? So I might give a few examples. That's only so you guys can kind of expand your thinking around, what could be there for you, and hopefully get past it and then move forward with what's going to get you to a successful business. All right, let's go on from here. Let's see. Go through some of that. All right, so that kind of wraps up for the day, but I do want, I know that we kind of condense these, our trainings here, these ignites a little bit for the sake of time and everybody and you guys getting to work and getting back to work and all that. But these are key things, don't just look them over. 10 contacts added to your database is huge. You know what I mean? If you could do that. 10 conversations a day, 10 handwritten notes, 10 home previews per week. If you're not going to, preview homes right now, I get that, but at least jump on the MLS. Lead generate, uncover motivations, identify objections. And a little tip there, when you identify an objection, write that down and find 2 or 3 ways to respond to that. There's only a handful of objections out there. And trust me, you can get to the answer to all of them. And you can have more than one way to answer them as well. If you really start, writing them down every time you come across one, whether you're challenged by it or not, just write it down and make sure you have 2 or 3 around that. Close deals, right? Keep in mind, like, closing deals eventually funds our big whys and what we're doing. Speak in terms that the customer understands. There's a lot of things we speak in you know, that we have here in our industry that we might speak within each other, but at the end of the day, the clients don't understand that. So, you know, just keep that in mind and build the confidence, right? Confidence is confidence. The more you know, the more you script practice, the more you know your listing presentation, your buyer presentation, the more confidence you'll have in working, getting out there and wanting to work with clients and put yourself out there. So these are all key things. Practice and role play daily. You know, this says 30 minutes. I'm telling you, some of the best scripting I ever did was, you know, having a script practice buddy who I would call, you know, 8 a.m. every morning. We went 2 rounds each through the script, gave ourselves 3 objections, and eventually at the end, obviously letting them go through. For the sake of practicing, you got to let them go through. But at the end of the day, what ends up happening is you get to practice what you need to, you know, what's being said, so you can really listen to what's on the other side of that phone call. I think that's one of the key things here to remember, that, you know, when you don't know the scripts and you don't know the right questions to ask, you end up going into a lot of conversations that end up extending the phone calls a little too long. Then there's a little bit more fatigue on the call. Then eventually you kind of want to just, you know, the other person just wants to hang up, and you don't get all the information you need, and you're not getting to motivation, and then it ends up turning into nothing, right? But if you know the scripts, you know the right questions to ask with the least amount of chatter, at the end of the day, getting to motivation, and from that motivation, you can start using that to convert them into a client who needs your help, right? And that you can provide a great service to. So practice daily. You know, if not 30 minutes, at least 1 round through 1 script, you and some other person, 5 days a week. You cannot go wrong with that. And another thing around scripting, if you're out of practice for just 1 week, it makes a difference. I promise you. Do it for a month straight, take a week off and try to get back on, and you'll see the difference, right? But, you know, if you can put the proper structure, I highly recommend doing it daily and finding someone who's going to be consistent and committed to you as you would be committed to them. Compliance, do not call. Just remember that if you guys are making calls right now, you know, they're regulating a lot of the telemarketing right now pretty heavy. So, you know, if somebody's angry or frustrated, just, you know, just be cordial, just be nice, and just, you know, let them know you apologize, or whatever you know, you don't want to be apologetic, that's fine, but just be nice on the other side of the phone, so they don't make it a bigger deal than make it a bigger deal than they actually can, because people are getting hit right now on cold calls. Lead generate, right? Calling with scripts. We talked a little bit about that. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Your best form right now to lead generate could be just making care calls, right? Not even bringing up the whole real estate use the Ford method. If you need, I think that's the best thing to go with, and let the conversation organically go into real estate. That's kind of always been my flow. I think it works best that way, but that's just my opinion. Update your contacts and follow up. The fortune's always in the follow up, so make sure you guys are on top of that. If you're consistently working your database properly, you do have the opportunity to get your daily tasks that the system generates for you if you're maintaining that database properly, and you don't even have to think about it, right? Maybe you set up a follow-up call from 3 months ago or 2 weeks ago, right? Let your database do the heavy lifting for you. Contract practice. I think Nick's still doing the contract classes at our offices, always providing incredible value in those classes. Know the contract in and out. It's one of the best ways for you to actually really position your clients, win offers, and protect your clients in transactions, right? So when I first got into the business, I was reading that contract, you know, at least twice a week, front and back, until I felt really sufficient in it. So it does give you a sense of confidence knowing how to use it, because it's the instrument and it's a tool. for you to get your clients what they're looking for when they're out in the market and for you to protect them. And use Command and Connect to get help, right? Command has a lot of resources in it. So does Connect. Get in there. There's a ton of videos in KWU. There's all kinds of things, and there's a lot of resources. So feel free to leverage what you guys already have available to you to expand your businesses. Okay. Other than that, we are all set. Let me exit out of here. So does anybody have any questions for me today? Anything I can answer? I know it was a little bit of a interesting day and we had some distractions, but we're here and it's about 11:30. If anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them for you. If not, it's a wrap. We all good? All right, see you guys. I think Nick will be with you guys on Thursday. So Nick or Susie. So until then, I'll see you guys next week.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.